onto your team here, Joe. This is where you could let the bias fly a little bit here. The Las Vegas Raiders. Last season finished 8-8, modest improvement over the last 3 years, consistently under Gruden. Vegas has their betting line, though, at 7 wins, and 57% of the audience is betting the under there. Guess I have it as a push, because I have your Raiders going 7-10. And I do think that they have made some things that make me a little excited. Adding Yannick Ngakoue, I definitely think is a great pass rusher to add to a team. Pair him up, of course, with Max Crosby. And they have a little something going on there. They have tried to draft defensive cornerbacks. Hopefully Jonathan Abrams could be a little bit better as a decision maker for them this year. Their offense can roll, but you definitely do have to consider they did lose Nelson Aguilar, who was one of Derek Carr's favorite targets last year. Hopefully Henry Ruggs III can really step up in this offense and really take that deep threat role that he didn't seem to really grab the reins on last year. Joe, obviously you know this team more inside and out. Tell me what you think about the Raiders this year.
This is my team right here. Yeah, I like the Raiders, and call me biased or not, I usually pride myself on being a realist Raider fan, right? Last year they asked me what the Raiders were going to say. I said 8-8. Has it been disappointing to be a Raider fan, especially with John Gruden back? Yes, because they started 6-4 both the last 2 seasons and finished horribly, 7-9, and then last year 8-8. So they're on that cusp. They just need to finish that second half of the season, right? They just need to get something going. I know a lot of people are down on the Raiders, and it's easy to hate on the Raiders. There's a lot of people that have Raider hate. If you could just block the Raider hate out for a little bit when I talk about the Raiders, that's what I tell people. Take the hate that you have, get it out, and look at these players as if they were on another team. So if this was a whole different team and not the Raiders, like Derek Carr, you brought up Derek Carr. If Derek Carr was on the 49ers, you'd have a whole different thought about it. You'd be like, damn, this is actually a pretty good quarterback right here. But since he's on the Raiders, everybody goes, oh, he's not that good. But the offense finished 11th last year, 11th in the league in total yards, with a lot of injuries, with a banged up offensive line that people don't like, right? And I think that's another reason that people are hating on the Raiders, is because they got rid of some of the big name offensive linemen that actually didn't do crap. Spoiler alert, they didn't do crap last year. Really, the only one that really hurt them, they got rid of, that really started every game, was Rodney Hudson, the center. So they'll be starting a second-year guy at center, Andre James. But the rest of the offensive line, they have 2 young tackles. They drafted one, Alex Leatherwood. He looks actually pretty good. And my favorite wide receiver, Brian Edwards, is having one hell of a camp, and they're comparing him to somebody that you know very well, Terrell Owens. So if he could turn out to be that way and help Derek Carr out just a little bit, I'm not worried about the offense. Kenyon Drake is there. Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake should be a great 1-2 punch with Drake coming out of the backfield. The defense is where we're questioning it. And I don't know how much of the Raider games you watched last year or anything, but anybody who's known the Raiders since Derek Carr has been in the league has known the Raiders defense absolutely blows and is garbage. If you've been a part of the Raider defense for the last 6 years, you're garbage. I'm just going to come out and say it. Derek Carr has never been on a Raider team that's been over 20th best in the league. That's what they focused on this year. Gus Bradley, as you mentioned, has come over. Some Charger fans will be like, well, he sucked. He's not a good quarterback. What I saw in the first preseason game from this Raider defense is something I haven't seen in years. More than one guy standing there when the guy catches the ball. 3 or 4 people were around that ball carrier at all times. The defensive line, and it's preseason, yes, but you can learn a little bit about your team in preseason. They were getting to the quarterback. They're blitzing, which we haven't seen. We saw players play good. Jonathan Abram, one of the guys that you brought up earlier, he's not making those dumb mistakes. High energy guy, but they've been able to reel him back a little bit. So I think if the defense can improve, and like Gus Bradley has everywhere he's been, he's got him in the top 15. If he does that, sky's the limit for the Raiders. I have them at 10-7.
Okay, so we're apart here on 3 games. And I think that's what it really came down to, those coin flip games. I just asked myself, man, do I see them pulling off this road win in Indianapolis here late in the year? Do I see them going across the country and pulling this one off? They have, I've heard you say this before, and I've heard many people say this, one of the most difficult schedules in the NFL. And that definitely has been a thing. That's part of the joys and tribulations of whenever you finish second in your division. You get a second place strength of schedule. And I think that definitely does hurt the Raiders going into this year as they continue to try and make improvements. I just don't feel like they're quite there as like a competitive team out of the AFC. But like you said, can they battle for a wild card? Sure, they have an offense that certainly can. They gave the Chiefs hell last year. They balled up on Monday Night Football against the Saints. Every now and then the Raiders will just throw you for a loop. It's just this continuous trend too later in the year where they've also been getting worse after the Thanksgiving break. I think also worries me. It's because a lot of that falls on Gruden. Obviously, whenever Mark Davis went out there to get him out of retirement, they were expecting this guy to be a top 10 head coach in the league. And I don't know how you feel about it. I don't view him that way. In fact, maybe mid-tier, maybe top 15. I don't know. It's just top 10. Like he's getting paid like it.
Everything I've read about him, players still love him. Players still talk all high about him. PFF put him as what, top 5 play caller in the league still?
Yeah,
But
PFF
as a
loves
head
him.
coach, is there something? I think he's loyal to an extent sometimes, and I think Gus Bradley's actually helping him get through that because he was loyal to Paul Gunther for way too long. He should have got rid of him as a defense coordinator. And Gruden has, for some reason, I don't know, in my opinion, he doesn't like playing the younger players when he should. And I think, and what I'm seeing in camp this year is Gus Bradley's like, no. We're playing these guys, no matter if they're young or old. We're playing them, and one of the names to look out for is Hobbs, the cornerback. He made a big sack on Geno Smith in the preseason game, knocked him out of the game. If you guys watched that one, but he could more than likely be the starting cornerback for the Raiders, and the Raiders have invested a lot of draft picks into that secondary, and for Hobbs to come in and take that starting job, it's interesting. So Gruden as an offensive play calling, yeah, he could be in the top 10, but Gruden as a head coach. Right now and everything that he's been handling, I could see you putting him outside the top 10.
I think the biggest thing that's falling around is that contract. And speaking on that too, let's say the Raiders fall more into my prediction. What do you think they got to do? What's next for this team? You got to get him out.
I'd be ready to move on. If they have another collapse like they have had the last 2 years, I will be calling for John Gruden's head. Yes. I cannot take that again, because how can you be sitting there 6-4 or 7-4 one year and lose the rest of your games? Like, come on. 9 to 10 wins get you in the playoffs. So you're going to say you couldn't win 1 or 2 more games just to get. Raider fans want to get to the playoffs. We don't want you to. You don't have to win a Super Bowl. I would love for you to win a Super Bowl, but can you please get us in the playoffs? Can we please get to a playoff game? Like, that's all I'm asking for right now. Baby steps. But yeah, if Gruden, I would say if he goes 7 wins or less, if he goes 8-9 and it was because of injuries or maybe 1 or 2 bad, field goals here and there, I could do it. But 7 wins or less, I'll be calling for his head. Yeah.